June 13th, 2023, the Hick Doctor from Oklahoma, Doc Ellis. Joseph, I'm a retired law enforcement officer, also retired for reserve from the military, have tinnitus in both ears, don't have this documented in any of my government medical files. Is it possible to request the government pay my bills related to this? So too late since I'm retired. I believe the condition is related to firearms and explosive training over the years. Thanks for time and attention. Okay, VA, absolutely. You can file a VA claim before you die, and you don't need any records. If you tell me that, I believe it, that becomes your medical record. So that'll take care of your VA. And you should get tinnitus. If you get 10% for tinnitus, ringing in your ears, if you die of heart attack or stroke or a cardiovascular disease, I can get the widow pension. And, okay, so now, if you retired from the government, you can file a hearing loss for the government within 3 years of the last day you're an employee. So if it's over 3 years, it's past the statute. But you can certainly get the VA. Okay, yeah. William.
You want to read it?
I'll read it.
Okay.
Everything I tried was shot down. I have no doctorate. He's from the Virginia that I have records, advice, condition about migraines, anxiety, sleep apnea, gout. Please help. Yeah. Is this a VA? You think it's federal?
No, it's VA.
Yeah, that's all easy stuff.
Yeah, I don't think he meant Virginia. I think he actually meant
VA. Meant VA. Yeah. Okay. Now, okay. Here's the deal. If it happens while you're in service, it's covered. Like you're in service 20 years, you get hypertension, it's covered. If they miss it on the entrance physical, say you have rheumatic fever murmur, they don't pick it up, they find it after, it's covered. And then, of course, if it's caused, if it during service, like migraines, let's say you had migraines before, but they got worse, then it's covered under VA. And if you've hurt some body part, like you've got flat feet or plantar fasciitis, and it contributed just a little bit of weight gain, your sleep apnea is covered. Tinnitus, ringing in your ears, contributed to sleep apnea. Okay, that's huge, folks. Case law and medical evidence. Okay, gout, if it started in the service, you start having a toe hurting in the service, it's covered. It wasn't caused by the service, but it started in the service. Okay. Anxiety, depression, you're overseas shooting people shooting at you. You used to piss me off. They shoot at me, you go to the latrine in Vietnam. Then anxiety, depression's covered. Sure. Okay, here's Uriel. Oh, love to help widows. I'm a widower, and my mother's a widow, and we're trying for survivor benefits. Sure. Yeah. Send us your records. We'll get you on the phone if we need to. And if there's something in the records, if they ever filed for something, if not, we'll help file for it retroactively and see if that works. We can sure take charge. Charge $500, but of course a gifted off because I ever charge a widow money, lightning come to the ceiling. Mm-hmm. And you can imagine how fun it is helping widows. God, what a blessing to be. Okay. Do you do a records review or do I have to travel to see you? We do records review. We do a telemedicine. Then if it doesn't work, then you come. If some rating person or judge or then you come. But let's try it. Let's try it that way. And of course, if you've got a lot of records, I can rely on your blood pressure and all your vital signs and findings from your records. All right. Fifth question. Vital ankles, feet, knees, are those separate or two separate claims? Yeah, they're separate claims. But if you're having financial problems, give us a call. Let's talk to you about it. It's just like a back or a neck, and there's numbness down the arms. We call that one claim. Like hearing is hearing and ringing ear. We call that one claim. And speaking of you got a vet that's homeless or not a lot of money, and we don't charge $5,000 and $10,000 like that kind of crap going on. It's $500 a condition, but give us a call. What we could do 4 conditions, send you the report of the first condition, which is the best one, maybe sleep apnea. Then as the money comes in, you can send it in, and we can send you the reports for the other conditions. I do it for free, but I have to pay people to do this, okay? But if I was by myself, it'd all be free. But, do have an overhead. Okay. So, now the 6th one, Dawn, Arizona. Not many doctors that know how to do CA7 in Arizona. You're allowed to go anywhere? Yeah, you can go anywhere. We have people come from Europe and Asia. Okay? I'm their treating doctor from across the ocean and from all across the state. But for federal workers' comp, you just need me to do the scut work, the scheduled awards, the CA7s, the forms and stuff. Let your doctor do the stuff. We can get everything approved so he can do surgery or stuff. We'll do that. Now, scheduled awards, the CA7, if you're asking for time off work, we can help you with that. If you're asking for what's called a scheduled award, I'm just telling you right now, everybody, you got to come see Nicole. Not me. You got to see my PA. I'm sorry, but there's no way there's probably anybody out doing what she does. She's just a researcher, and you've got to know, under federal workers' comp, the AMA guides, which are very convoluted, very, very difficult. It's good that they are, because not everybody's equal. Used to, I'd write maybe 20 and some district medical advisor say 5 just numbers out of their fanny. But now, they're very detailed, okay, and so it's there. But you can't do it if you just had this course. For instance, if you don't know the FICA bulletins and all the federal law and stuff, and this, you are not going to do a good job. You do an adequate, but it won't be a big job. But it'll be based on the guides, but it'll not be based on the guides from federal workers' comp. This is, for instance, in the AMA guides, if you have a shoulder, you can rate it by range of motion or a diagnosis plus any nerve. FICA bulletin, we cite a FICA bulletin that says you first find out which is higher, range of motion or diagnosis, and then you add the nerve to the range of motion. That's a lot of money, folks, and it's logical. Okay. Or like a district medical advisor said, since it's constant pain, it goes from a class 1 to a class 4. That's a lot of money. But be careful. The doctor had done 5 knee surgeries, included a total knee, and did it under federal workers' comp, so it wasn't health insurance. The guy didn't have to pay copay. Thank you, doctor. Thank you. Thank you. Because it's hard to find a doctor who can do this. Okay, but then when will I be at MMI, maximum medical improvement? Well, never. You're always going to need physical therapy, and you're never going to get well, blah, blah, blah. That would have cost him over $300,000. So, doctor, if you don't know the FICA Act, backwards and forwards, and all the OWC bulletins, keep your mouth shut. Or send them to us. We'll do it, and then you can go do your surgery. All right. All right, so that's okay. That's okay. Okay, there's one. Would I need to get impairment rating on my amputated finger? Sure. Yeah, that's pretty easy. We could probably do that by telemedicine. I do not have half the use of my left of my finger. No, we rate it for the amount of amputation. We rate it for any nerves. We rate it for range of motion of the rest of this. Now, if you move your fingers and hold your arm like this, the fingers are attached to the elbow. So you may have a wrist decrease your range of motion. You may have an L decrease your motion. You rate the arm. Now, this is federal workers' comp. Let's say you were born with a missing finger, then you hurt your index finger. The way I'd rate the arm is I'd rate the missing finger, even though it's genetic, and the arm. Or let's say you're born with a club foot, and then in high school you have a football knee surgery, and then you're in the Army, you have a knee surgery for the Army, and then you get a strained knee working for the government. The way I rate the leg, and then you have a back and a nerve down the leg. The way I rate the leg, I rate the nerve, the entire knee as it is, and add the club foot. Very fair law, but just no one knows it. But once you get to hearing officer, ECAB, which is Employee Compensation Appeal Board, your Supreme Court, or to the veterans appeals, the judges, lawyers, they know the law is for the vet, for the federal employee. There's no politics. You win. You always win if you don't give up. But what happens? Everybody said, "I did one. I'll never do another one." Okay.
So to clarify on that, he doesn't need to worry about an impairment rating. He just needs to go straight to scheduled award. Is that correct?
Impairment rating is a scheduled award.
Okay.
Thank you, Gary. Yeah. Okay. No. And you can do it anytime, and you can repeat your schedule award every year. Okay. Do I need an impairment? You just no. You can file it anytime. Okay, and you can repeat it every year. And if it goes down, you don't pay any money back. Or if you had a rating of say of 12 of carpal tunnel of say 12% under the 5th edition AMA guides, which would be this one, and then under the 6th edition, the max you can get for plain carpal tunnel is 9. You don't owe anything back. And so if I did a rating, say of an elbow, I'd rate the entire arm. You have to rate the entire arm. The rating of the wrist would be 12, not 9. It wouldn't. It's just this would be the 6th edition, but that would be the 5th edition 12. And if you don't know that kind of stuff, it's worth the trip to come to see some hick doctor in Oklahoma City. We're the Mayo Clinic of Federal Workers' Comp. I mean, come on. I mean, my staff knows this better than I do. I'm just the mouthpiece. Okay. Okay, I got PTSD during a hospital stay at the VA. Okay, now, let's just start right there. Let's say you have appendectomy at the VA and you get peritonitis. That's not malpractice, that's just a hiccup, okay? But then that makes anything from that peritonitis service-connected, not malpractice-connected, but it happened due to that surgery and service, therefore it's covered. And you can get up to, I think, $250,000 and stuff like that. And it's not like a malpractice suit, which it takes forever, and But so if there's a hiccup, the VA will take care of it. If you'll get a doctor that knows what he's doing, you can write a report, and a lawyer that knows how to do it. Okay. Getting anyone to take me seriously? Well, that's probably true. 50% of litigation, Social Security, car wrecks, workers' comp, federal workers' comp, AFLAC, requires a white doctor code, okay? All we learn about legal medicine, medical schools, that lawyers don't go to heaven, and how to prevent malpractice. So we're worthless, because we have no training, and we don't have any training as to the criteria for each system. Like each state has its different criteria for acceptance under federal workers' comp. So you've got to, if you're doing anything in that state, you've got to know that law. And then there's VA law, there's Social Security law, and then there's federal retirement law. You've got to know that, or refer to somebody who does. Nothing wrong if you refer. I refer brain surgery out. I don't feel bad about that, although I'm legally able to do brain surgery. It'd be malpractice if I did. I'm not trained. So don't do that. Okay. I was never able to get a proper evaluation. That makes sense. They went from saying there's nothing wrong with me saying I'm too fragile to undergo method treatment to VA uses PTSD. Well, you got PTSD. Federal workers' comp and VA disability are supposed to be administrative and non-adversarial. They're more adversarial dealing with an insurance company, because in the VA, your rating person, you don't really get to know who they are. And in federal workers' comp, your claims examiner, which is judge and jury, only needs a high school education. And you may get to know the first name and last name. And there's no punitive damages. Let me explain what punitive is. Car wreck, rear ender, the insurance company kept saying that this high school science teacher, I think it was Nebraska, it's not real. Well, she gets her neck surgery fused. And so eventually she sues the insurance company. Of course, they paid for the neck surgery and all that stuff. But he sued them for punitive damages. Don't do that anymore. That's fraud. And they paid like $30 or $40 million. Or it's like the McDonald's case everybody uses. The older lady, she had a real burn in her lap, and she got paid for that burn. But there were the millions of dollars were paid because they'd been told over and over again, punitive damages. Doesn't happen in VA. You don't even get to know your VA rater's name, and some of them are not well trained. I had a senior federal employee that teaches federal raters, and he said they're not trained. And of course, the doctors and the PAs and nurse practitioners VA are not trained at all. They're just using what they learned watching Perry Mason or CSI. That ain't it. Reasonable medical certainty, reasonable medical probability, doctor. Person goes on a mission trip that's endemic for hepatitis A. They don't get a hepatitis A vaccine, and 21 days later, doctor, they've got yellow eyes. That's the only information you get. What's your thought at that moment in time? You've got the white coat on based on your education, training, experience, any records, any information you got, and you put it together. Since you're the expert, medical expert, just like you be an engineer. Well, he's got jaundice, he's got liver disease, he probably has hepatitis A. That's reasonable medical certainty. And then you do a CAT scan, and he's got a little stone in his bile duct that can back up the bile from the liver up to the eyes. And you think, well, it could be maybe that's the diagnosis. Reasonable medical certainty. The lab test comes back, and he also has the hepatitis A. They're both together. At each point in time, as you get the information, that's your opinion. You know, it's just like one time this was a state workers' comp deposition, and the attorney asked the plaintiff attorney is this your report? Has your opinion changed? I said yes. I saw him water skiing this weekend. And of course, the transcript just typed it away, and the respondent attorney, and we were just pulling the leg of John. Okay, but also there are times that you're not going to depose Doc Ellis. Now, if you've got some new evidence, he'll listen to it, and he'll change his opinion. He's an honest man. So just let the evidence speak for itself. You're writing this for Jesus, not for anybody else. The trouble is, the hard part about legal medicine, if it's a respondent attorney working for an insurance company sitting in business, I have to guard against writing zeros so I get more business. Then it depends on the plaintiff attorney, the ambulance chaser. I got to guard against writing 50, 60% so they send more business. I just write the truth, and I don't care if it hair lifts anybody. And tell you what, folks, this is a secret. It works. Truth in the courtroom, it just stands out like a sore thumb. Okay, PTSD. We can get your treatment. Tried Congressman. They need a white coat. You need a nexus report for your VA. Okay. Remedy, customer service. Okay, they're not going to customer service. The doctor has to do this.
Yeah, it'd be hard for a congressman.
Well, no,
to get
Congress
involved,
can't do anything. No,
except for to recommend.
No. Just please review the record. No, you need somebody that does legal medicine, and that's probably why you're watching this thing. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of us to do it, and yet over 50% of lawsuits require a white coat. So it's tough, man. Classic, state workers' comp, company driver, company cut truck. Broken neck, surgeon does a fusion, gets a letter from the insurance company because the doctor has to say whether it's work related or has to say if it's VA related or whatever. And the neurosurgeon wrote back and said, I don't know, I didn't see the truck roll. That helps. And of course, they go before the judge. The judge says, of course, it's work related. I mean, everybody knows it's work related, but you gotta have a white coat say it. Or for instance, I'm doing a FERS, Federal Employment Retirement System, retirement. And the Boyer's retirement system now fights everything. It's very fair law. If you can't do the job which you're hired, it's not Social Security, no gainful employment. Okay, but anyway, we can't use Dr. Ellis's report because he's not the treating doctor. Well, I guarantee you there's no rule about that. That's ridiculous. Also, since I'm a professor of occupational and environmental medicine and have done a lot of occupational work, vocational rehab work, and all that kind of stuff, I'm better qualified than the best orthopedic surgeon in the world. And in this case, they sent a letter to the treating doctor. There are 4 questions you have to answer under FERS, it's federal. Wouldn't touch it. So if you have to be the treating doctor and you're not ever going to get federal retirement, but now if an insurance company pulled a stunt like that and tried to stonewall that's $40 million. Bam! And that person gets fired. Okay, but the person that wrote that, you don't even know who it is. So don't be surprised. Now remember, the heart is deceitfully wicked above all things. There's one Bible verse that wasn't wrong when Paul wrote it. He said, I am the chief of sinners, not that I was. Well, I wasn't born yet. So if you and I, Gary, were talking about who's worse sitting in a room, and Paul would say, well, I stepped on the sidewalk crack. I said, I'm trying not to beat my wife. Now, my anger, some of it is righteousness, wanting justice. I will just want the government to obey their laws. This is not Russia. This is not China. Obey your laws. And if you don't do it, I'm down your throat. And if you've got a badge, you better know it when you come into my office, because everybody else is afraid of your badge. You have to behave. I don't. You have to obey the laws. There's Bivens. You can be fined and go and do all kinds of stuff that you pull that you don't know. I know it. Read my transcripts. You do not want me in your courtroom. I'll eat your lunch, but I can also teach you if you want to come in and learn. Okay, so bless everybody. Thank you for letting me tell you this. Thanks, Gary.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.